was ridiculous for me to get charged with a crime and to do prison sentence for the things that I did.
You think that?
Well, no one
Is that your claim?
No one generally gets prosecuted. No one in the Southern District's ever been sentenced for obscenity, for transferring obscene material. So I did learn that there was an element of prosecutorial discretion that I think everyone should be concerned about, that people being made examples of, and the idea of people being over-incarcerated. I learned I was a very privileged person to be in that system, but I experienced a lot of men in that system who were also charged with things they probably shouldn't have been for periods of time that they shouldn't have, and their inability to get a trial, a fair trial, because of the trial penalty in the federal system. So I learned a lot about that stuff that informs how I talk about this stuff today.
What was your experience being incarcerated like?
It was hard. I wouldn't recommend it.
How did you politic?
I formed relationships with a lot of different elements inside.
Yeah.
Like there were guys at the prison library, these more senior black guys, and I would kibitz with them about what's going on in Washington. I worked in the rec yard, and so, those guys I got a relationship with. I lived with the unit storeman. Some people.
What's the storeman?
It's the guy who has stuff that he sells. You can only go to the commissary every so often, but if someone wants to go watch a movie and they want to get a bag of chips, the storeman will take care of you. And I lived with that guy, and no one really fucks with the storeman. And so there were ways that I stayed safe.
Being on a registry, if you kill someone, right? If I murder someone, I get out of jail, I don't have to tell my neighbors that I'm a murderer.
Correct.
What is it about this category of crime? Why is it treated differently?
I don't know. It's the last. It's kind of weird. Obscenity is usually not considered one of these crimes, and so it's kind of weird. But I guess sex crimes have their own special thing in people's imagination because they take in such a broad range of different things.
Is it all sex crimes, or is it just involving minors?
No, it's all sex crimes.
All sex crimes.
All sex crimes.
Yeah. Do you know that this individual was underage at the time?
I didn't have a trial. And I'm reluctant to do anything that sounds like I'm not accepting responsibility for what I did. However, there are elements of this case that made it winnable for me. Let's just put it that way.
If it was winnable, why wouldn't you try to win?
Because they said to you, can either accept this charge or we're going to charge you with something else that has a mandatory minimum. And so the risk is called the trial penalty in the federal system. So it's very risky, and that's why so few people go to trial, because you can plea bargain for 21 months and see your 6-year-old again in a couple of years, or take your chance going to a trial with the name Anthony Weiner and all that goes with that, and hope that you win the case and spend a lot of money, and then you could then get charged with, then you're found guilty of a 10-year mandatory minimum because they charge you with something else. Not many people go to trial in the federal system, like 1 or 2%.
Yeah.
Because they have the ability to really raise the cost for you if you decide to.
How has it affected your life, though, being on a registry? Since you've been out of jail?
Well, it's very hard. It's a thing that people can say about you that taints you and that makes it seem like you're scary, and that people can make up stories. My whole thing is I'll accept responsibility for things I've done, not for things I have not done.
Yeah.
The prosecutors said you have to accept this as part of the penalties, part of your plea bargain, and so we said we would.
Obviously you're running for office again.
Yeah.
It must make it do you intend on winning? Do you?
I
if
do
you run
intend
for office.
on winning.
Right. So how do you account for that? In the eyes of a voter?
Well, it depends on where they enter the conversation. If they say you're on the sex registry and I can explain it, if they say, some people, I say to them, look, I have done my time, done my probation, I have accepted responsibility, and why can't I go back and work for this community doing the job that I'm best at? To me, people who talk about the idea of justice and the justice system, they're full of shit if they believe that I'm not entitled to run, even though I have done my time and accepted responsibility. And my notion of criminal justice is you pay your debt to society, no more.
To what extent do you want to expose yourself for a third time now to that?
Yeah, I get versions of that question a lot.